Britain is about as poor as Mississippi, which is the poorest state in America. And that's a precipitous decline for a country that was once known as the empire where the sun never set because of its wide-spanning reach and power. They've had 5 prime ministers in as many years, or well, they're about to, because the current prime minister, Keir Starmer, a member of the Labour Party, who has only been in office about a year, is about to leave office and be replaced by someone who's not even in parliament yet. So Britain has a parliamentary system. So like different constituencies throughout the country elect members of parliament, kind of like a member of Congress, but then those people select the prime minister, who's the head of government. Andy Burnham is like a mayor of Manchester. He just won a by-election. That's a special election for a constituency whenever someone resigns or leaves office. Someone left, he's been elected, and he's going to be sworn in soon, and he's immediately going to become head of the Labour Party. It's remarkable. We'll see if he can turn things around, but the broad problem in Britain is that people are very unhappy with their leadership. That's why they've had 5 members who are the head of parliament in as many years. People are suffering severe economic malaise. Britain never fully recovered from the 2008 financial crisis, and Britain has immense inequality within the country. So London, which is why I think it's so shocking to most people when you hear that Britain is like about as poor as Mississippi. Well, if you take out London, it's poor. So the rest of the country hasn't benefited from the transition from an industrial country to a post-industrial services-based country. Now, many Western countries have made that transition. America has been in that process for a long time, like transitioning away from manufacturing into services, financial services, technology. All Western countries, all countries, when they achieve a certain level of development, that happens. But Britain really couldn't nail it. The 2008 financial crisis hit them hard. They're very dependent on gas for their power. So the war with Russia and Ukraine really hit them. Then Brexit came, hit them really hard. The economy has suffered post-Brexit, particularly because they were a financial services center in London, and if you don't have that easy flow of trade and movement and business, that was a pain point for them that they also didn't really expect, so they weren't fully prepared to leave. It was like they were people voted to leave, but the government didn't think it was going to happen, so they weren't prepared. So Britain suffers from that. Wages are lower, housing prices are astronomical, in part because Britain has 50% fewer homes than France, despite having the same population. So there are regulations that have hurt the development. The post-industrial economy hasn't affected all parts of Britain in the same way. So like Northern England has suffered immensely from this transition, but nothing has come and replaced the jobs that have left. So there's this immense stagnation. There's a brain drain, like young people are leaving for opportunity elsewhere because when your productivity and your GDP aren't growing rapidly, or at least at the same level that they were pre-recession, like pre-2008, the trajectory of their GDP has never returned to the same growth rate, then young people leave. When young people leave, it's like this spiral downward because who are the people who start businesses? Who are the people who are productive? Those are the young people. And Britain has a robust social welfare net, but those are supported by young people working and contributing to take care of the older people. That's how it works. That's how a social safety net operates. And so Britain faces this impending budget shortfall if that continues to happen, and they don't have a lot of room to increase taxes to fix that shortfall because taxes are at the highest level since around World War II. So these are the problems facing Britain. It's economic malaise. It's many shocks to the system from the 2022 like oil crisis, current oil crisis, Brexit, constant leadership changes, and just a broad economic malaise. Like secular stagnation is kind of the term for it that an economist would use, that they haven't figured out how to quite get their way out of. And this has resulted in dramatic political change. So Britain is normally has been a 2-party system largely, where like there are 2 main parties, some smaller parties like regional parties, like the Scottish National Party is an example. That's a party like based on Scottish kind of independence or nationalism that's centered in Scotland. There's another one in Wales. There's some different Northern Ireland parties, but the country has been ruled by the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, the Tories, you might have heard them be called. So the Tories led for a long time. Labour finally took power again like a year or 2 ago, but the polling now suggests that everyone is very unpopular. Those 2 parties are absolutely collapsing in their support, but they're being replaced by more radical populist parties that some didn't even exist a few years ago. And why does this happen? When do people turn to populism and things like that? Well, it's when they feel like they're not being heard, when the government's not addressing them, when the economic crisis is so severe that there needs to be some type of sense of urgency in their view. I'm not commenting about politics. I'm just explaining like the social dynamics that result in this. And it's a reason why it's very important to not allow inequality. Inequality is an economic concern. It's not just a moral concern. People talk about inequality in America as like it's a moral imperative. Yeah, but the other concern is that inequality is destabilizing to governments. Inequality is bad for economies because that inequality results in different development that then hurts overall because like there's been growth in London nowhere else. That's obviously destabilizing, but that's also not good economically. Like there's a lot of lost productivity when entire swaths of the country aren't experiencing the same kind of economic growth. And so this idea though that Britain, which like once controlled America, once controlled so much of the world, is now lost.